All right. I'd like to start off by saying Barakatah Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakha Kodash. Welcome to another live lesson. The name of this one is I Am Against the Old Destroying Mountain. I believe that's part of the quote from the book of Jeremiah, chapter 51, which we're going to get into today, some of it. I'm going to read it, then I'm going to jump back up a little bit, and got a couple of precepts to go into it, and Lord's will, this will be an edifying lesson. I was reading Jeremiah 51 earlier this morning, and a very good chapter dealing with the end, in prophecy, because that's where we're at. We're in the end, and prophecy plays a major role in ushering in the end. And I was meditating on this earlier, how you have all these so-called scholars, theologians, archaeologists that claim to be experts in the Bible, that go and do their research and dig up this, dig up that, go into the history, pull out history, and do all of this so-called studying. And I've yet to see any of them and any of these so-called preachers in these plantation Christianity churches go into the books of Revelation and break them down. Yahushua said that there will be a lot of different signs in the earth ushering in his second coming. And we see those signs very clear. The Most High said that his words don't go out void, that he's not a man that he shall lie. Had he spoken, and shall he not make it good? So every word in the scripture must be fulfilled before Yahushua comes back. So that must mean that the books of Revelation are being fulfilled as we're speaking, and they're being broken down. And we're actually witnessing these things, but yet the Lord turns around and says that he'll give us pastors according to his heart, which will feed us with knowledge and understanding. And I don't see these pork chop eating pastors in the churches. I don't see the vocab Malones and these different so-called apologetics, theologians, archaeologists, so on and so forth, breaking down the books of Revelation, which these books have to be fulfilled. These words have to be fulfilled before Yahushua comes back. So I was meditating on that. So everything that we witnessing in the scriptures is being fulfilled as we speak. And it's coming to pass and will come to pass, because there's still a few things left to happen. Mainly the two major prophecies dealing with the mark of the beast being the microchip and World War III. And then, Jacob's trouble and everything else that comes along with it. So I don't see any of these theologians, scholars, Bible thumping Christians, plantation Christianity, none of these so-called apologetics or whatever, going into the books of Revelation and breaking them down, which proves that they're not the men of the Lord. So let's read this verse, and like I said, we're going to jump up, because this is part of the title of this lesson. In America, Babylon the Great will be destroyed by thermonuclear destruction and the lasers from the chariots. This is Jeremiah 51:25. Behold, I am against the old destroying mountain. So this is the Most High speaking to this destroying mountain, which we know is a destroying government. And that destroying government is who? America. And her allies, but mainly America, because America is the ones that governs and pushes their policy all throughout the earth upon all these different nations. It says, saith the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, which destroyeth all the earth. So ancient Babylon did not destroy all the earth because ancient Babylon didn't have access to the whole earth. So what is this speaking about? This is speaking about another Babylon, which that other Babylon is talking about Babylon the Great, or the daughter of Babylon, which is America. So the Most High say he's against you that destroys all the earth. And you are the reason, you are the main reason why the earth is in the condition that it's in today. And that's why, one of the many reasons why the Lord is going to come and destroy you. This is the book of Revelation, chapter 11, verse 18. It says, and the nations were angry, and thy wrath is come, and the time of the dead, that they should be judged. And that thou shouldest give reward unto thy servants, the prophets, and to the saints, and them that fear thy name. Did you hear that, Nate? Small and great, and shouldest destroy them which destroy the earth. And who are they that destroyed the earth? You Edomites, you so-called white people that are in power right now. You're the ones that have destroyed the earth, and the Lord said he's going to destroy you. So this is a future prophecy. So is Jeremiah, the 51st chapter. That is also a future prophecy. And we're reading about your demise because you rule over the whole earth. You Edomites, beginning with here in America, because the policies of America was pushed throughout the four corners of the earth. It says, and I will stretch out my hand upon thee, and will roll thee down from the rocks, and will make thee a burnt mountain. Because this place, America, will become a burnt mountain. There will be nothing left of this place. Now it's heavy because I looked up that word burnt, and I wasn't sure what I was going to run across. I'm pretty sure I may have looked it up before, but you know, so much information and so many words in the scriptures that it's impossible to remember every single scripture and every single word that you come across, unless you just got a photographic memory, which I know I definitely do not have. So when we go to Jeremiah 51:25 and we go to the word burnt, the word burnt is sharapah. Sharapah, which comes from the word sharap, which means burning. Now, what I thought of when I read that sharapah, sharap, I thought about the word seraphim. And a seraphim could be an angel, but you have a seraphim in the book of Isaiah 14, which is representative of these nuclear missiles. So how is Babylon the Great, America, going to be burnt? By those nuclear missiles and the lasers from the chariots. But the major prophecy are those missiles. And that's why the word burnt goes back to the word sharapah, which goes back to the word sharap, which means burnt. Now, when we go to Isaiah 14, and let's see. And 29, it says, rejoice not thou whole Palestina, because the rod of him that smote thee is broken. For out of the serpent's root, and what is the serpent's root? That represents the place where the serpent comes from, which is what? Their abode, where they live. They come out of those holes. And the serpent is a representation of what? Of those missiles. And the root is a representation of the silos. It says, for out of the serpent's root shall come forth a cockatrice egg. I'm sorry, a cockatrice. Spare me 1 second. Yeah, it says adder there, which is a poisonous serpent, which is a representation of those missiles. Because remember, those missiles bite. They do hurt. It says, and his fruit shall be a fiery flying serpent. And when we look up that word fiery flying serpent, right? Let's go to Isaiah 14 real quick. Isaiah chapter 14 and 29, I believe it was. When we look up the word fiery, lo and behold, it goes back to the word sharap, which means serpent, fiery serpent, poisonous serpent, fiery from burning effect of poison, seraph, seraphim, a majestic being with 6 wings, human hands or voices and attendance upon the Most High. So what I'm looking at here is the word poisonous serpent, because those missiles not only bring devastation, but they also bring poison, which that poison is what? The radiation that comes in them. And that is why when we look back and we reflect upon Sodom and Gomorrah and the neighboring cities, what happened? They were totally destroyed. And the radiation from them have not really caused anything to really grow in that area. They didn't thrive in that area anymore, which at one time it was a very fruitful place, because that is the place which Lot chose to be in. Because he said he looked towards it, he saw that it was well watered, it was springs, and and the vegetation, of course, was very good. That's why he chose that land. And Abraham went the opposite way, which he went towards the land of Canaan, which was the land that was promised to him anyway. So now when you go in that area, there's nothing there. That's why at the end of the whole deal, America is going to be totally wiped out. It's going to be a desert. It's going to be like that song that the group America sung. I've been in the desert on a horse with no name. It's so good to be out of the rain. That's a representation of the destruction of America. Now, when you read the lyrics and you go through whatever, they'll give you whatever they want to give you of that song, but that's really a representation of the destruction of America. And this is why they brought it out in that movie, Planet of the Apes, where they called it the Forbidden Zone. And what was it? It was nothing more than a desert that had been destroyed. And when Charleston Heston went there, he thought he was on a different planet, but he found out he was still in America, on Earth, namely in America, because really the capital of America is what? New York. So he saw the Statue of Liberty buried in the sand, which is a representation of the downfall of this place. Just like that one Edomite, which might be a Jake, had the dream where he saw the American flag and the Christian flag wrapped in blood, which is the downfall of America and plantation Christianity. Just like you have the movie Falling Down with Michael Douglas and Robert Duvall, where they show you him struggling with the Korean, and then when they moved to the side, they knocked down a whole thing of flags and they fell on the ground, and the camera panned right on them as the American flag being on the ground. Just like that one game that they were playing and the American flag somehow got loose from the thing and just fell. So there's a lot of representation that the Lord is showing that this place is falling. And the way it's going to fall, of course, economically and morally and all of that, but eventually the ultimate judgment is going to be by those missiles and by the lasers, and we're focusing more on the missiles because this place is going to become a burnt mountain based off of those missiles, which are known as a flying fiery serpent. All right. So now let's go back to Jeremiah 51. Let's start back. Let's go to 24 now, and then we'll read straight down. Verse 24, it says, "And I will render unto Babylon and to all the inhabitants of Chaldea all their evils that they have done in Zion in your sight, saith the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushai." So you notice when we read through the scriptures, one of the main reasons, besides them breaking the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High, claiming to be so-called Christians and upholding the values of the Bible, so on and so forth, one of the main reasons outside of that they're going to be destroyed is for the controversy of Zion that the Most High speaks about. Because they've done wrong to the children of Israel. And the children of Israel are you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians. And you, I was about to say the old breakdown, but you brothers out there, the speckled bird that are sprinkled among the nations that look like the nations, but whose line goes back to the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians, which are the actual Israelites. So for the crimes committed against them, that's one of the major reasons why the Most High is bringing judgment upon all of these nations. Serious business, man. we're fucked up as a nation, but the Heavenly Father still loves us. You know, we're the apple of Yahweh Bashem Shai's eyes. You know, so you fucked up when you put your hands on us. So now verse 25 says, behold, I am against the old destroying mountain, because you destroyed the whole earth, you know, which did is weaken the nations, as it tells you. You know, in many different scriptures we read about how this place, you know, is constantly destroying the people of the earth, their economies, they're stealing their resources, devaluing them, bringing them down morally. You know, you bring nothing but destruction. That's why the 29th scroll in the verse 6 says, beware of the beast man, for he will make a desolation of your home and mine, or something along those lines. Shun him, drive him back to his jungle lair. You know, let him not breed in number. Why? Because you are the devil, man. So pretty much whoever wrote that part there pretty much is writing about the beast nature of you Edomites, you know, and the way that you destroy the world and the way that you deal with nations and destroy them, you know, and then really prophetically there, without them even knowing it, they pretty much wrote in that scroll, in that verse, Obadiah, the first chapter, the 18th verse, which says that you're going to be totally round up and burnt up after a period of time, after you suffer hardcore captivity, because that is the only solution to bring peace back to the earth. The trees will be at peace, the animals will be at peace, the earth will be at peace, and the peoples of the earth will be at peace once you are totally destroyed. You know, because you are a machine of destruction. Your DNA, your makeup is created to destroy. And that's why the Most High is going to take you out by the waster, which is the missiles. That's what's going to take you out. It says, behold, I am against thee, O destroying mountain, saith the Lord, which destroyeth all the earth. And I will stretch out my hand upon thee, and roll thee down from the rocks, and will make thee a burnt mountain. So when we go back to ancient Babylon, you still have, you know, there's some places that are ruins, but you still have a thriving society there. You still have businesses there. You still have things that are operating there. They're not a burnt mountain because they're still in operation. It says, and they shall not take of thee a stone for a corner. And that's also dealing with America. And when I read this, it brought to mind Isaiah 34, which we're going to get to. It says, nor a stone for foundations, but thou shalt be desolate forever, saith the Lord Yahweh Bashem El Shai, because this is the judgment that's going to be brought upon you. So now let's segue from there to the book of Isaiah, the 34th chapter, and let's read some of that. And then we'll go back to Jeremiah 51. Just bear with me 1 second. I just want to see something. I wrote something down. I just want to see what that says. Okay, cool. All right, so Isaiah 34:1. Come near, ye nations, to hear, because we are prophets unto the nations. And this message is to all nations. The message to all nations is that the Lord is coming to judge you. The message of salvation is to the Israelites that are scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. That salvation is coming to you. But those of you that don't repent, you're going to suffer the same fate that these nations are going to suffer. Salakia. Now, it goes on to say, let the earth hear and all that is therein, the world and all things that come forth of it, because this message is to the whole entire planet. And the message is very clear in what's written in this chapter. And then when we jump down to the 16th verse, let's read that real quick. It says, seek ye out of the book of the Lord and read, no one of these shall fail, meaning that none of the prophecies in this book are going to fail. You know, and what we're reading in Isaiah 34 is going to come to pass. It says, for my mouth it hath commanded, and his spirit it hath gathered them. So the Most High commanded these things, and he will make it good. So if we're witnessing on the planet Earth all of these different signs that Yahweh Shai spoke about before his coming, and all of the words of the Bible are supposed to be fulfilled, where are these preachers and these pastors and these theologians and these scholars, you know, and these archaeologists that are breaking the books of Revelation down and giving the sense of what's happening and what's coming, so that the Lord can bring the end? You know, they ain't doing that, because they are not inspired by Yahweh Bashem Al Shai. They're nothing more than a fraud that have been set into power to keep that thought, I guess you could say, for lack of better words, that thought of white supremacy alive. And that's exactly what they're set up to do. So let's go back, verse 2 now. For the indignation of the Lord Yahweh Bashem El Shai is upon all nations, and his fury upon all their armies. This is why you have something in the Bible called the Valley of Jehoshaphat, Yahweh Shaphat, which is the Most High's judgment. You also have something called Armageddon, goes back to Armageddon, which is the Mount of the Troops, which is being assembled as we speak over there in the Middle East. And they've been being assembled over there for years. And the closer we get to the end, the more tension there's going to be, the more armies are going to be over there, because this is the Lord's indignation. This is his determination to gather the nations to pour upon him his indignation. It says, so the controversy is against these armies. He says, he hath utterly destroyed them. He hath delivered them to the slaughter. We read about that in Revelation, the 19th chapter. Revelation, the 12th chapter. We read about that in 2nd Ezra, the 13th chapter, how Yahweh Shai and the angels are coming back to devastate Esau and the other nations and their armies. It says, their slain also shall be cast out, and their stink shall come up out of their carcasses, and the mountains shall be melted with their blood. This is that great sacrifice on the altar that the Most High that the Most High spoke about, but the elder Apostle Tahar been speaking about as of late, which America is that altar, but there's a great sacrifice that's going to be done even in the Middle East, because the Most High promised those birds a meal. They're waiting for that meal at the end of this whole deal. And I wasn't even trying to rhyme. They're waiting for a meal at the end of this whole deal. It says, and all the hosts of heaven shall be dissolved. And what are the hosts of heaven? That's dealing with all of the governments that are set up, that are in their heaven. All of these different empires that will be taken down after this destruction. Because them nations are going to be gathered into captivity after America is totally annihilated. It says, and the heavens shall be rolled together as a scroll. So what is going to roll the heavens together as a scroll? This devastation, this nuclear devastation that's coming. That's what's going to roll the heavens together as a scroll, which they call a mushroom cloud. So let's go from there to Revelation chapter 6, verse 12. And I beheld when he had opened the sixth seal, and lo, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood. Why? Because the smoke and the fire and the clouds of smoke and the pillars of smoke are going to be so great here in America that certain places are not going to be able to, the sun is going to be blocked out for a certain period of time in this area. It says, and the stars of heaven fell onto the earth. That's dealing with their structure, their power structure. It says, even as a fig tree casteth her untimely figs when she is shaken of a mighty wind. So in that instance, these devils are going to lose their power. The nations are going to lose their power, because they're not the scripture saying Daniel 7 and 9, I beheld till the thrones were cast down. What does it mean by that? The thrones that were cast down were all the different empires of the world when the Most High Yahweh sends his son Yahweh Shai back. All of these different nations are going to fall. And that's why one of his titles is what? King of Kings and Lord of Lords, because he's coming to take down all of these nations that are ruling and rule over them, which is rightfully his rule. But these nations are pretty much on borrowed time, so to speak. It says, and the heaven departed as a scroll when it is rolled together. So what would cause a heaven to be rolled as a scroll? You know, that's what they call a mushroom cloud. And if you type in mushroom cloud and you look at the mushroom cloud, you'll see that it looks like a wound up scroll. And that's why John wrote it that way, because that's what he looked at. When he looked up and he saw the missile hit, and he saw the fire coming up in the aftermath, so to speak, it looked like a scroll that was rolling together in the heavens. It says, and every mountain and island were moved out of their places, because all nations will be taken away out of their power. It says, and the kings of the earth and the great men and the rich men and the chief captains and the mighty men and every bondman and every freeman hid themselves in the dens and in the rocks of the mountains. Because you're going to have, even now we believe you have some of the elite that are in these bunkers. And you don't only have elite among Esau. You got to remember, you have elite among the Ishmaelites, you have elite among the Moabites, among the Hamites. So all these different nations that have elites, we believe that a lot of their elites are more than likely now, either now they're in their bunkers or they're on their way there, because they know something major is coming. It says, and said to the mountains and rocks, fall on us and hide us from the face of him that sitteth on the throne and from the wrath of the Lamb, because the Lamb is coming back to bring vengeance. And that's going to be a part of the vengeance, that the nuclear fire, those missiles, and the lasers from the chariot. It says, for the great day of his wrath is come, and who shall be able to stand? So how can that day come unless these different prophecies are fulfilled? So who out there is breaking them prophecies down? What theologian, what scholar, what archaeologist, you know, what apologist, you know, which one of these so-called quote-unquote plantation Christians out there, pastors, preachers, whatever, you know, whatever's out there, are breaking the books of Revelation down? None of them. So that means that if we're in this time and all of these signs are coming to pass, that Yahushua is on his way, there's got to be somebody on the planet that can break the books of Revelation down and break down these mysteries. Otherwise, the signs wouldn't be in the heavens and the signs wouldn't be on the earth of his coming. So somebody's been lying. Anyway, let's go back to Isaiah 34:4. And all the hosts of heaven shall be dissolved, and the heavens shall be rolled together as a scroll, and all their hosts shall fall down as a leaf falleth from the vine, and as a falling fig from the fig tree. For my sword shall be bathed in heaven. What is the Lord's sword? Those missiles. They're going to be bathed in heaven, because this is also a part of the Most High's weaponry, a part of his military, a part of his army. Let me see if I can find that precept real quick. Just bear with me 1 second. I mean, I know there's one in Isaiah 13 where it says the Lord mustereth the host of the battle, but there's another one I'm looking for. It's either Jeremiah 50 or Jeremiah 51. Just bear with me 1 second. Oh, I think I got it. Yep. Jeremiah 50:25. The Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushua hath opened his armory, and hath brought forth the weapons of his indignation. For this is the work of the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushua, power of hosts, in the land of the Chaldeans, which is modern day America. This wasn't talking about ancient Chaldea. This is talking about modern day Chaldea, which is America. So going back to Isaiah 34:6, it says, the sword of the Lord is filled with blood, it is made fat with fatness. I'm sorry, let me go back to the fifth verse. For my sword shall be bathed in heaven, behold, it shall come down upon who? Idumea, which is the Greek way of saying Edom, and upon the people of my curse to judgment. So these Edomites are the Lord's people of his curse, and they're going to be set up for judgment. That's why when we read about the eighth head that came up from the seven, it says what? And goeth into perdition, meaning goeth into destruction. And we read in the scriptures that Esau would be the last ruler on the planet Earth. We're reading in the Bible that Idumea, or the Edomites, are the people of the Lord's curse, and they will be set up for what? For judgment. So everything points to these devils that are in rulership right now. But they just don't want to accept it. You know? Hey, even one of Maximus' top generals told him, why can't the people know when they're defeated? He said, would you? Would I? You know? In other words, they're going to keep fighting to the end. They don't want their kingdom to go down. So they're going to keep fighting to the end. They're going to keep lying to the end. But hey, so be it. All right. Back in Isaiah 34:6, for it says, the sword of the Lord is filled with blood. It is made fat with fatness, and with the blood of lambs and goats, and the fat of kidneys of rams. For the Lord hath a sacrifice in Basra, and a great slaughter in the land of Idumea. And though the lambs and the fat, that represents their military men, you know, their so-called nobles, their peoples, you know, just them in general. You know, dealing with their armies and the people as well. So America, which is also known spiritually as Basra, there's going to be a great sacrifice here, and this is where we at in prophecy. These things are about to happen very, very soon. Once they make that chip mandatory, which is the mark of the beast, then things will be moving a lot faster. They're moving fast now, but they'll be moving a lot faster. All right. It says, and the unicorn shall come down with them, dealing with their satellites, and the bullocks with the bulls, and their land shall be soaked with blood, and their dust made fat with fatness. Yeah, because they will be totally annihilated. For it is the day of the Lord's vengeance, and the year of what? Of recompense for the controversy of Zion. There's a controversy that the Most High has against these devils for what they did to his children. We read in Revelation, I believe it's 17, where it says that they among them was found the blood of the saints. So you got to pay for all these things, man. It says, and the streams thereof shall be turned into pitch, and dust thereof into brimstone, and the land thereof shall become burning pitch, because there will be nothing here, no more lakes, no more rivers, you know, nothing. Everything is just going to be parched. It's going to be a desert, like the scriptures call it. When you go to a desert, there's really nothing there. Shit, even at least in a desert, you have cacti, you know, you have certain reptiles and stuff like that. But when America is destroyed, there will be nothing there but those wild beasts of the desert. It says, it shall not be quenched night nor day, because it's going to burn for a long time. The smoke thereof shall go up forever, from generation to generation. It shall lie waste. None shall pass through it forever. None shall pass through it forever. So there's still people walking through ancient Edom, Petra. There's still sites there that people go and visit. The Lord said when this place is destroyed, which the Lord called Basra, there's going to be nothing left. There's not going to be anyone to pass through it. You see? So it goes on to say, but the cormorant and the bittern shall possess it, the owl also and the raven shall dwell in it, and he shall stretch out upon it the line of confusion and the stones of emptiness. And what is the line of confusion and the stone of emptiness? That means you're not going to know where one state ended, the other state started. You're not going to know where certain buildings were. the Empire State, the so-called Twin Towers when they used to be up, Sears Tower, Disney World, the White House, the Capitol, the Washington Monument. None of those stuff, none of that stuff that you see, no one's going to be able to ever know where these things were at, because it's going to be all gone. It's going to be one big landmass of desert, set as a monument to what it is to be wicked. So when everybody looks at this place, they're going to be like, you know why that place looks like that? Because there was wickedness there, and it was destroyed by the Heavenly Father. That was the judgment, the great judgment he brought upon it. It says, they shall call the nobles thereof to the kingdom, but none shall be there, and all the princes shall be nothing. Yeah, because there won't be anything left here. It says, and thorns shall come up in their palaces, nettles and brambles in their fortresses thereof, and it shall be an habitation of dragons and a court for owls. The wild beasts of the desert shall also meet with the wild beasts of the island, and the satyr shall cry to his fellow. The screech owl also shall rest there and find for herself a place of rest. There shall the great owl make her nest and lay and hatch and gather under her shadow. There shall the vultures also be gathered, every one with her mate. And this is the true definition of, let's go real quick to Revelation chapter 18. This is what the scripture really means. It used to be broken down differently, but the Spirit gave the further understanding to Elder Apostle Tahar to break it down. Revelation 18 and 4. I'm sorry, that's not 4. 2. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the great is fallen, is fallen. This is dealing after the destruction of America. It says, and has become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird. That's what this is talking about. The destruction of America. And the wild beasts that will be here, unclean beasts that you can't eat, that will be here inhabiting this land. It's not talking about homosexuals and all of that other stuff. It's not talking about when Esau took over, because this is what's going to happen after it's destroyed. It said Babylon the great is fallen, is fallen. It fell. It became destroyed. Now, let's go back to Jeremiah 51 and 26. So we read about the stones of confusion, stones of emptiness, line of confusion, stones of emptiness. We read about how they're going to call the nobles, and there ain't going to be no one there to come to the aid, no one there to set up government anymore. Going back to Jeremiah 51, 26. And they shall not take of thee a stone for a corner, nor a stone for foundations, but thou shalt be desolate forever, saith the Lord Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. So this is what the future of America holds. And we know by doing the research and just by going online, I'm sure they have videos on it. You could type in Iraq, Babylon, and you could still see people walking through there. You could still see people having business there, doing trade, doing different things, getting married, doing different acts, driving, flying planes, helicopters, militaries. So everything is still going on there. So how come, if Babylon was destroyed, how come it's still inhabited? If this is ancient Babylon, how come that ancient Babylon is still inhabited? How come there's still business being transacted there? Because this was not talking about that. Ancient Babylon was not destroyed by any major war. Ancient Babylon was transferred over the same night when Belshazzar, which was the last king of Babylon, had a feast with his nobles, with their women. They were getting drunk, and he had the audacity to call for the Lord's vessels, and they were drinking out of the Lord's vessels, and that's when he saw their handwriting on the wall. Many tekelu farsin. You have been weighed, you have been found wanting, and your kingdom is given to the Persians. And that very night, Darius the Mede came and took him down. There was no major war. There was no fire shot to it, nothing. When we read about the destruction of Babylon here, we're reading about fire and destruction and devastation, and no stone left to be able to set up a foundation, and it becoming a totally burnt mountain, and that they destroyed the whole earth. Ancient Babylon didn't do those things. This is dealing with modern day Babylon, which is America. So it says, verse 27, set ye up a standard in the land. And this is the standard that's being set up, this truth being taught. Blow the trumpet among the nations, and we're telling them what's coming. Prepare the nations against it, because these nations are going to eventually come against this whole America, because they're tired of the way that America has been dealing with them. But this is the Lord causing that irritation, causing that separation, causing that distress among these nations. America doing all this shit to them, and it's not a coincidence that America has U.S. bases, military bases, damn near in every country on the planet. That was to further irritate these nations, and this is the Lord's doing to fulfill His words. It says, call together against you the kingdoms of Ararat, Mini, and Ashkenaz. So you have even those nations that are back there, they're back here now, that are going to do war with America. The scriptures also speak about the Medes, which the ancient Medes were Media, which ruled at the Persian and the Medes, but that area where the Medes ruled now belongs to Russia. That's Russia now. The modern day Medes, so to speak. Now they took over that land, they took over those names because the ancient Medes were dark-skinned people. They were Japhites, they were dark-skinned people. But the people that are there now, these Russian Edomites, they're the ones that's ruling there now. It says, appoint a captain against her, cause the horses to come up as the rough caterpillars. Prepare against her the nations with the kings of what? Of the Medes. And who are the kings of the Medes? That is the so-called Russians today. Now let's go real quick to Isaiah. Isaiah chapter 13. And let's see what verse. Isaiah chapter 13 and verse 17. It says, behold, I will stir up against the, behold, I will stir up the Medes against them. Against who? Babylon. We'll read the first verse. What Babylon is this talking about? This is talking about modern day Babylon. Babylon the Great, America. Because the ancient Babylonians did not go down by no major war. It says, behold, I will stir up the Medes against them, which shall not regard silver, and as for gold, they shall not delight in it. Their bows also shall dash the young men to pieces, which is what? Talking about those missiles that they have. And they shall have no pity upon the fruit of the womb. Their eyes shall not spare children. So we witnessing that. Their eyes are not going to spare any children when those missiles are shot over here to this side of the world. They're not going to spare any children. They're not going to spare men, women, old, young, animals. They're not going to have any pity. They have no feeling. All that's in them is the fury of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, and all these fruitcakes are going to get it too, because America's going to be bathed in that nuclear fire, and all filth will be washed away. And so it is written, and so it shall be done. It says, in Babylon, the glory of kingdoms, is dealing with modern day Babylon, the beauty of the Chaldees' excellency shall be as when the Most High what? Overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah. How was Sodom and Gomorrah overthrown? By thermonuclear destruction, which was the Most High in the heavens, Yahweh Bashem Yahushai in the heavens, fusing together those elements to cause fire and brimstone to be shot down from heaven down upon the earth. And how is he doing that now? By way of the technology of the nuclear missile. which the missile itself is just a propellant agent. You know, the force is in the warhead. That's the main power. That is the fusion of these elements that's going to cause the devastation. The rocket, the biggest part of the missile, is just a propellant agent to get it from one side of the world to the other. That's it. The smallest part of the missile, which is the head, is where the major devastation is coming from. And there are multiple warheads in there. That's why the scriptures say that 100 million missiles are going to hit this place. People are like, well, they only have so many missiles. Yeah, but the warheads, the dickhead, how many warheads are in each one of those missiles? There's many warheads. And there's stuff that they don't tell you about. Just like they have black ops sites. Just like they have, you know, over 200 military bases that are not on the on record. You know, you always got some big Mr. Know-it-all dickhead that thinks that they know that they so fucking smart. Well, they only have so many missiles in you know, in Russia and America and China. Yeah, but what about the warheads? And what about the shit that they ain't bringing out? You think all this time they've just been sitting on their thumbs, twirling around with their thumbs stuck up their ass? They're building arsenals, man. All that bullshit about the diffusing nuclear arms, bullshit. They're creating more stuff because the Most High is making them create it. He said, I create the smith that blew off the coals in the fire, that bringeth forth an instrument, the waster to destroy. Fuck out of here, man. It says, it shall never be inhabited, neither shall it be dwelt in from generation to generation. Neither shall the Arabian pitch tent there, neither shall the shepherds make their fold there. So when America is destroyed, there's not going to be any inhabitants. There's still inhabitants over there in ancient Babylon. You still have shepherds and Arabians over there. You still have the different Ishmaelite tribes over there. So what is this talking about? This is talking about modern day Babylon, America. And you have a lot of those people that live in those regions and those areas on this side of the world, pitching tent here. Those shepherds coming over here to make money. They're not selling herds over here. They're selling goddamn camel meat burgers, camel meat knockwurst, camel meat frankfurters on a bed of rice. Oh Lord. It says, but wild beasts of the desert shall be there. We lie there. We keep reading the same things in different chapters. It says, and their houses shall be full of doleful creatures, and owls shall dwell there, and satyrs shall dance there. It says, and the wild beasts of the islands shall cry in the desolate houses. We just read about the beasts of the island coming with the beasts of the desert in Isaiah 34. And dragons in their pleasant palaces. And what are the pleasant palaces? All of the different governmental buildings and different buildings that they have, so-called pleasure buildings. It says, and her time is near to come, and her days shall not be prolonged. Why? Because there's a set date where the Lord is going to devastate and annihilate this place. He's going to rock it off his axis. You know? And that's why this day that's coming, when the prophets seen it, they got scared, they got nervous. They were hoping that the Lord didn't destroy them with it, because they saw the devastation and the agony and the fear and the fire and just the sheer horror, man. They wanted to be protected, man. All right, so now let's go back to Jeremiah 51 and 28. Prepare against her nations with the kings of the Medes, the captains thereof, and all the rulers thereof, and all the land of his dominion. And the land shall tremble and sorrow, for every purpose of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai shall be performed against Babylon. And make the land of Babylon a desolation without an inhabitant. You still have inhabitants over there in the land of ancient Babylon. So something is up. And that's why these dickheads, they say, well, America is not mentioned in the Bible. Well, yeah, the name America itself is not mentioned in the Bible, but America is mentioned in the Bible by its code. You know, spiritually Egypt, spiritually Sodom, Basra, Nineveh, Assyria, Babylon the Great, the daughter of Babylon, the daughter of the Chaldees, and many others. It goes on to say, the mighty men of Babylon have forborne to fight. They have remained in their holds. Their might hath failed. They became as women. They have burnt her dwelling places. Her bars are broken. So you're not going to be able to do shit. You know, when the devastations are coming, your reserves, your national guards, and all of that, they're not going to be able to do anything. They're not going to be able to stand it. You know why? Because they're going to be trying to run and save themselves. They're going to try to run and get themselves together. You know? They're going to, there's not going to be anything in their power to do to be able to keep this place afloat. It says, one post shall run to meet another, and one messenger to meet another, to show the king of Babylon that his city is taken at one end. Yeah, and that's how, when those missiles start dropping, there's going to be sheer horror for the next hour in this land. And it's gonna be over quick. But the scriptures speak about weeping and gnashing of teeth, the pangs. You know, the men hearts failing for the things that are coming upon the earth. Devastation. It says, and that the passages are stopped, and the reeds they have burned with fire, and the men of war are affrighted. Yeah, because really, to put it blunt, the American military, you have a lot of homosexuals, a lot of women, a lot of lesbians, a lot of chumps. You know, there's only maybe like a handful of those military men that are really hardcore. The majority of them are pretty much soft, because living in America does not make you strong. Living in America makes you weak. It makes you lazy. It makes you lazy physically and mentally. But now when you live in these other nations, these nations live hard. You know? Like places like Russia and Afghanistan and different other places, people live hard, man. They live hard lives. As children, they live hard lives. By the time you're like 6, 7 years old, you become hardened. You had never even had a childhood. You know? If it's not, you know, lacking of food, you know, you got to work at a very early age, 4, 5, 6, 7 years old. You know? And that hardship makes them children harder, where they don't even have a childhood like they have here in America. And really, that's the way it's supposed to be. You know? So that you wouldn't have to worry about your children, you know, not being able to survive. But in this society, they teach you, here it is, you got children that are 10, 11, 12, you know, teenagers, still, you know, mama's boys, 25 years old, still mama's boys, still having this disconnected from the titty. Them other nations are not like that, man, for the most part. It says, for thus saith the Lord of hosts, the power of Israel, the daughter of Babylon is like a threshing floor. Why? Because it's time for this place. This place is ripe for destruction. Because what do you hear? You have a threshing floor. What is a threshing floor? Well, you throw your grapes and you stomp the grapes to do what? To get the juice out of them to make wine. So you're throwing grapes in there, and when do you stop throwing grapes? When the floor is full. Because you can't throw any more grapes because they're going to run over. So what do you do now? You go in and you stomp the grapes, you know, and get all the juice out of them. Then you could bring more grapes. So America pretty much is fully ripe and ready to be threshed. It says, it is time to thresh her, yet a little while, and the time of her harvest shall come. And we're coming to the time of the harvest of this place. It says, Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, hath devoured me. He hath crushed me. He hath made me an empty vessel. And we've been made empty vessels here. Because at least in Babylon, you had what? You had Israelites like Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, and others that were in prominent positions. They were still slaves, but they were in some prominent positions. Here in America, if you don't sell out, sell your soul, you pretty much are destitute. It says, he hath swallowed me up like a dragon. He hath filled his belly with my delicates. He hath cast me out. The violence done to me and to my flesh be upon Babylon, shall the inhabitants of Zion say. See, that's what the scriptures say. Rejoice over her, ye prophets and righteous men. I forget the exact wording. For the Most High hath avenged you on her. And my blood upon the inhabitants of Chaldea shall Jerusalem say. And there was no blood. There was really no bloodshed when ancient Babylon was brought down. It wasn't no major war. Therefore, thus saith the Lord, behold, I will plead thy cause and take vengeance for thee, and I will dry up her sea and make her springs dry. And that's what the Lord is about to do. He didn't do this to ancient Babylon. Oh boy, almost. It says, and Babylon shall become heaps, a dwelling place for dragons, and astonishment with an hissing, without inhabitants. And we keep reading about this in different chapters over and over again, how this place is going to be desolate. The only thing that's going to be inhabited in this place is these desert creatures, these wild animals, these island creatures. They shall roar together like lions, they shall yell as lions' whelps. In their heat I will make their feast, and I will make them drunken, that they may rejoice and sleep a perpetual sleep and not wake, saith the Lord Yahweh Bashim El Shai. Because this place is going to sleep a perpetual sleep. It will never be inhabited again. I will bring them down like lambs to the slaughter, like rams with the he-goats. How is Shishak taken, and how is the praise of the whole earth surprised? How is Babylon become an astonishment among the nations? Because what's going to happen? These nations are going to stand afar off and are going to be in awe of this devastation. They're not going to believe it. They're not going to believe how this great country that ruled over everybody, that had such a, an abundance, is going to be destroyed. They're going to be in amazement. Let's see. Here we go. This is Revelation 18:8. Therefore shall a place come in one day, death and mourning and famine, and she shall be utterly burnt with fire. Which is what? The nuclear missiles and the lasers from the chariots. For strong is the Lord Yahweh Bashim El Shai, who judgeth her. And the kings of the earth, who have committed fornication and lived deliciously with her, shall bewail her and lament for her when they shall see the smoke of her burning, standing afar off for the fear of her torment, saying, alas, alas, that great city Babylon, that mighty city, for in 1 hour is thy judgment come. See? So we read over here again, Jeremiah 51:41, how is Shishak taken, and how is the praise of the whole earth surprised? How is Babylon become an astonishment among the nations? The sea is come up upon Babylon. She is covered with the multitude of the waves thereof. Her cities are a desolation, a dry land, and a wilderness. This is the forbidden zone. A land wherein no man dwelleth, neither doth any son of man pass thereby. And when we read the book of Job, the 20th chapter, in Job, the 20th chapter, it goes into how they're going to be taken out of their rulership. How the joy of the hypocrite is but for a moment, and how they're going to pass away as a dream. It says, and I will punish Bel in Babylon, because these different idols that will worship here are going to be destroyed here. And I will bring forth out of his mouth that which he hath swallowed up. Yeah, because they've gotten much riches through these false religions and false idols. And the nations shall not flow together any more unto him. Yea, the wall of Babylon shall fall. Yeah, because this place is going to fall. It says, my people, go ye out of the midst of her, and deliver every man his soul from the fierce anger of the Lord. Meaning, don't be involved in the things of this world. You know, use the world as not abusing it. You get in and you get out. That's it. And lest your heart faint, and ye fear for the rumor that shall be heard in the land. A rumor shall both come in 1 year, and after that in another year shall come a rumor, and violence in the land, ruler against ruler. Therefore, behold, the days come that I will do judgment upon the graven images of Babylon, and her whole land shall be confounded, and all her slain shall fall in the midst of her. Then the heaven and the earth and all that is therein shall sing for Babylon, for the spoiler shall come unto her from the north, saith the Lord Yahweh Shemel Shai. That's dealing with Russia. And you can read the 50th chapter, you know, that goes into that. It says, as Babylon hath caused the slain of Israel to fall, so at Babylon shall fall the slain of all the earth. And you have all nations here, man. Ye that have escaped the sword, go away, stand not still, remember the Lord afar off, and let Jerusalem come into your mind. Why? Because this is our escape. Coming back to Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. We are confounded because we have heard reproach. Shame hath covered our faces, for strangers are come into the sanctuaries of the Lord's house. And that's even here in America. You know, you have infiltrators. You have these different plantation Christian churches that were set up. And you have Israelites that make up the sanctuary of the Lord going into them and being destroyed. Being made an abomination. Made unclean. Wherefore, behold, the days come, saith the Lord Yahweh Shemel Shai, that I will do judgment upon her graven images, and through all her land the wounded shall groan. Though Babylon should mount up to heaven, and though she should fortify the height of her strength, yet from me shall spoilers come into her, saith the Lord. A sound of cry cometh from Babylon, and a great destruction from the land of the Chaldeans. Because the Lord Yahweh Shemel Shai has spoiled Babylon, and destroyed her out of her the great voice, when her waves do roar like great waters, a noise of their voice is uttered, because the spoilers come upon her, even upon Babylon, and her mighty men are taken, every one of their bows is broken. For the Lord power of recompenses shall surely requite. Yeah, because whatever is left here militarily is going to be destroyed and wiped out. And I will make drunk her princes, and her wise men, her captains and her rulers, and her mighty men, and they shall sleep a perpetual sleep, because they're going to be destroyed, and not wake, saith the King, whose name is Yahweh Bashem Yahushai of hosts. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, the broad walls of Babylon shall be utterly broken, and her high gates shall be burnt with fire, and the people shall labor in vain, and the folk in the fire, and they shall be weary. The word which Jeremiah the prophet commanded Zariah, the son of Neriah, the son of Messiah, when he went with Zedekiah, the king of Judah, into Babylon in the 4th year of his reign, and this Zariah was a quiet prince. So Jeremiah wrote in a book all the evil that should come upon Babylon, even all these words that are written against Babylon, and that didn't happen in ancient Babylon. It says, and Jeremiah said to Sariah, when thou comest to Babylon, and shalt see, and shalt read all these words, then shalt thou say, O Lord, thou hast spoken against this place to cut it off, that none shall remain in it, neither man nor beast, but it shall be desolate forever. And that didn't happen in ancient Babylon. That happened here in America. And it shall be, when thou hast made an end of reading this book, that thou shalt bind a stone to it and cast it into the midst of Euphrates. And that's heavy, that they cast it into the midst of Euphrates, because Euphrates is a very major key river to where a lot of this destruction of Armageddon and the Valley of Jehoshaphat will be happening. And thou shalt say, thus shall Babylon sink, and shall not rise from the evil that I will bring upon her, and they shall be weary. Thus far are the words of Jeremiah. So this place, America, has a great destiny with destruction. There's going to come a time where they will shoot those missiles over to this side of the world and devastate this place. And it never ever will it ever be inhabited ever again. And in order for these things to happen, the books of Revelation have to be fulfilled. And I don't see any so-called preacher out there, theologian, archaeologist, historian, or anybody going into breaking down among Esau, going into breaking down the scriptures in the book of Revelation to bring in the end, because we're at the end clearly, as all the signs are pointing to. So where are these great Edomite theologians and scholars and historians, archaeologists, pastors and preachers breaking down the prophecies and the mysteries? They're not doing it because they're not the men of the Lord. So somebody's lying. So with that, I pray that your brothers have been edified. Till the next time I say, Shalom.